Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Thursday. It is the 14th day of April, 2022. I hope that you're healthy and that you're safe today, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food and shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field and those that are the first responders trying every day to save human lives. Blessings upon those also that pick up garbage for us, that keep streets and sidewalks and parks clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience every day. Double blessings on the men and women trying to help deliver and rescue the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of prostitution and child prostitution, the victims of pornography and child pornography, human trafficking and sex slavery, and double curses on the perverts, profiteers, and perpetrators who traffic in this human misery. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. There are more than 550,000, going close to 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States who don't have a roof over their head and are sleeping in the streets. And there are millions more around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, we're continuing our coverage of the NBA draft with regard to the New York Knicks, and we're going to be discussing Johnny Davis today. Now, like I said, I picked 13 players, and I noticed that on Tankathon, as I'm looking at Tankathon, they're changing the order of their big board. They're changing it pretty rapidly, actually, in terms of the mock drafts. So, and I see some people moving up and some people moving down. So right now, on their big board, they have Johnny Davis as the 10th best player, and then they have him going 9 to San Antonio. Now, the New York Knicks, as we know at this point, are the 12th pick. And of course, that could change based on the ping pong balls, right? So we don't know who is going to end up where. The Knicks right now, as the 12th pick, have a 7% chance of getting into the top 4 and a 1.5% chance of getting the top overall pick. And so they would probably stay in 10-12 range, I would think. And, so Davis might be there for the Knicks at their pick is what I'm trying to say. So, and there, again, like, for example, I just rank the players, right? And wherever we happen to be or able to be slotted into, either by trade or by ping pong ball or whatever, if that player is there, we're looking at that player. So my number one player, again, is Jabari Smith Jr. You have Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, Keenan Murray, Benedict Mathurin, E.J. Liddell, and then there's a tie for 7 between Dyson Daniels and Jeremy Sohan. Then there's Okai Agbaji, and there's Wendell Moore, A.J. Griffin, Johnny Davis, and then finally Tyree Eason. Now, again, for realistically, I mean, there are other players. For example, like I don't have Chet Holmgren on my list because I think he's going to be injury prone. I don't trust his frame. I'm more conservative in certain areas when it comes to stuff like that. I don't necessarily, I want to, we all are hoping for these guys when we are pulling for them to be healthy and to be successful. But if I'm looking at it from a New York Knicks, I'm looking at it from trying to be from a GM's perspective and be more realistic about what I'm seeing. And so for Holmgren at 195 pounds at 7 foot tall, I just don't see him being able to take the NBA pounding for multiple years. I'm very bearish on his durability. So that's why I don't have him on my list. I don't have Shaedon Sharpe on my list. Why I don't have Shaedon Sharpe on my list? I believe he needs to go back to school for one more year. Calipari said as much. Now, whether he decides to listen to Calipari or not, I don't know. But he needs to go back one more year and play at the Division I level to develop what he needs to develop to come to the NBA. One of the worst things a player can do is come too soon. Look at Kevin Knox. And not be ready and never really blossom and develop as you think his talent would indicate. So that's why I don't have those two. And so those two guys, for example, if we're drafting 12th, they're going to go in the top 12. and they'll be gone by the time, if they were being drafted, they'll be gone by the time we pick. So that would give us more opportunity to pick the players that I have on my list because they should be available. For example, also Jalen Duren, who's a 5 from Memphis. I'm not into picking 5s right now. I might pick a second round guy that we can send to the G League like we did Jericho Sims and develop him. There's the guy from Kentucky in the second round. Oh God, he's actually the player of the year in the NCAA. But of course, when you're getting ready for the NBA, that doesn't mean anything. But he is, I forgot. Oh, Oscar. Yes, Oscar Shapeway. He's in the second round, but he's 22. He's like Jericho Sims. And so I would get a guy like that, a guy that I know is going to work hard, a guy that I know is going to be serious, a guy that's more mature than some of these other kids. And, and he was getting like 17 boards a game, which tells me he's somebody that goes after the glass. We'll talk about him later, but as far as 5s, I don't want to waste my first round pick on a 5. Like I said, I mentioned to y'all before, if Mitchell Robinson doesn't sign, which of course there is still hope that he can sign. It's not definite one way or another right now. And that's what making us all on edge with Mitchell Robinson. We don't know, period. We don't know. He could be going to Dallas. He could be going to New Orleans. He could be staying with the Knicks. We don't know. So that's a big question mark. So if he signs with the Knicks, we don't need to worry about any of these 5s. If he doesn't, we can get 5s, on the open market. Like I said, Bryant in Washington is going to be unrestricted. We got Mo Bamba's going to be unrestricted. Daniel Gafford is available because of the fact that they got Bryant there. So we don't know. And then you got other guys. There's Christian Wood. There's, there's a bunch of guys that are already in the league. We talked about Jackson Hayes. There's a bunch of guys already in the league that could adequately fill in for Mitchell Robinson. And especially if you're talking about, you still have a Jericho Sims. There's Andre Drummond is still, he's going to be unrestricted. We don't have to pay a ton of money for him. So there's a number of guys that we can get. Now, some of them are not going to be the rim protection that Mitchell Robinson provides. They're going to provide something else. But there's a number of guys we could get. And my point is, instead of getting a rookie that's not going to be like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and carry our franchise, but probably going to need 3 or 4 years of development, right? So that's why I'm not looking at 5. So now, somebody else, though, some other team might think differently about their situation. So somebody like a Jalen Duren might go and see, to me, those are guys that's taking up spots ahead of 12 that will leave the possibility of the guys we want, stronger, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at basically like you're talking about Holmgren, Jalen Duren, Ty Washington. Somebody takes them, fine. Then we got opportunity to get the guys that we want, right? So here is Johnny Davis. Now Johnny Davis is 6'5", and he reminds me a lot actually of Dyson Daniels. He's very similar to Dyson Daniels to me, except he has a better shooting stroke, and he's still inefficient though. He's an inefficient shooter. Now, his freshman year, he's a sophomore. He's going to be 20 years old when the draft comes. So he's still young. His freshman year, he wasn't ready to come out to the NBA. Most people aren't as freshmen. But, so he came back his sophomore year. He became more focal part of the offense. He played much better, in fact, this year. I think he was Big Ten Player of the Year. If he wasn't, he was in consideration for sure. But he was very inefficient as a shooter. 31% from 3, 43% from the field. He shoots from the line at a high rate, 79%, which tells you it's not that his shot is broken. He just takes a lot of bad shots, right? That's what it is. He just takes a lot of bad shots. He takes 16 shots a game. So that's what it is. Athleticism wise, he's NBA. He's an NBA basketball. Let me just put it this way. Johnny Davis is an NBA player. Okay. You can't say that about everybody. I was having a conversation with a brother about this the other day. Like, Jello Ball, LaMelo and Lonzo's brother, he is not an NBA player. See, and that's hard for people to take because you see LaMelo is superstar potential. Lonzo is definitely NBA point guard. But not all of the brothers have the same ability. Jello is not. Now, I'm not saying I'm not just saying that he can't be a starter in the NBA. I'm saying he's not an NBA level player. He doesn't have the physical ability. NBA level talent is different from the rest of us. Most of us average people are not NBA level players. Not everybody is. That's a very gifted human being, right? Physically gifted human being. And you like in a common park scene, like if you were in a park playing ball, an NBA talent stands out because of just the gifts that they have physically. Okay. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has that. All right. So, there are guys that are just not NBA level players, period. They just don't have the physical ability. Johnny Davis is an NBA level player. Okay. So he could play in the NBA. So we're talking about him as an NBA level talent. He's going to get better. He has upside, but there are certain limitations. Okay. One of the limitations is he's 6'5". Okay. He's not going to grow. He's 6'5", 195. That's who he is. Okay. Defensively, I love, again, Raw Hebrew looks for certain things. He's not the efficient guy that I would like, but defensively, he gives his all. He is a high IQ defensive player, right? So he gives a lot of effort, but he plays with his brain as well. He knows what's coming. He anticipates well. He fights through screens. He's not a guy, though, that can guard more than the guard positions. So, for example, we talked about Jeremy Sohan. Jeremy Sohan can guard anybody on the floor 1 through 5. Okay. And that's huge because when you're switching, and you know, there's a lot of switching in the NBA, it doesn't matter who he switches on to. He's never going to have a mismatch because he guards everybody. Okay. Not the case with a guy like a Johnny Davis. He can guard a 1, he can guard a 2. Even ones, nowadays you're talking about Josh Giddey, right? You're talking about tall Ben Simmons. You're talking about guys that are 6'5", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", that can play the point. I wouldn't expect Davis to be able to guard those type of guys. But then again, in the NBA, they don't really expect guards to guard guys like that. They usually put a forward on, and so, or a big guard like them. They don't usually put a guard like a Davis on them anyway, but Davis wouldn't be guarding guys like that. But your regular point guards, your 2 guards, your 6'7" 2 guards, he can guard them and do a good job. I will be very confident in his ability to do that. And he has upside in that he will get even better with that. But most of his upside is on the offensive side. As I mentioned, he's very inefficient. He's not he wouldn't be the most athletic guy in the NBA. He doesn't have the explosiveness, like Anthony Edwards. He's not that. But he's got to be more crafty. He's going to have to use craftiness. Offensively, he reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd. Offensively, not in terms of his vision. You don't have the court vision, but in terms of his style of getting to the basket, shooting the basketball, the floaters, he reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd in that way. And which means he's crafty. And that's what Jason Kidd was. He's very crafty offensively. And I think he's going to be improving in his jump shot. One of the reasons I feel like he got the 31% 3-point shooting and the 43% from the field, the inefficiency on offense in general, but he shoots very well from the line. One of the reasons for that is because he doesn't get the separation with his athletic ability and quickness that some other guys might get. That's the problem. Like a Benedict Mathurin, right? Benedict Mathurin will get separation because of his athletic ability, speed, and strength. He will get the separation and needed and then get the jump shot off and splash it on you. That's not Johnny Davis. He had trouble getting some separation in college. In the NBA, it's not going to get any easier, right? But if you cause him to come off screens, or if he's a third option, right, and he's the open shooter, he's going to knock down the shot. More than likely, he's going to knock down the shot. Because again, 79% from the line tells you he could shoot the basketball. He just was taking bad shots, difficult shots in college. So if you get him settled as a spot up, shooter, like you are settled like a Reggie Bullock or an Evan Fournier, he will knock down that shot. I'm very confident in that. So we're not talking about a superstar here. We're not talking about a number 1 option, but a solid second, third option, a solid spot up shooter, a dependable defender, in terms of team defense and in terms of guarding ones and twos, which to me is important because you want to be our weakness in the New York Knicks has been consistently getting a point guard to stop the point of attack drives from into the key from the middle. That's been our problem for a minute. I mean, aside from offensively not having a point guard to orchestrate, we haven't had a point guard that can play some defense in a minute. Okay, so that's why I like this kid. I'm calling him a point guard, but he's really a two. But he could probably run a little bit of offense, but he's really a two. But he would be able to play good defense against ones and twos, is what I'm saying. So I like him. I think we already got him in the form of Quentin Grimes. We got a better version of Donnie Davis because that's Quentin Grimes. He's a better version of Johnny Davis. That's what Quentin Grimes is. He's bigger. Quentin Grimes is. He's stronger. He shoots more consistently. And so we have him already in Grimes. But the reason I'm bringing him up is this. If we stick with the young people we have, we don't need to really draft anybody at all. But if we're making a trade, somebody's got to go, right? And what do I mean by that? So let's say a Zion Williamson wants to come to New York. You're not getting him without giving up something that's going to hurt you. You wouldn't give up everything. You don't do Carmelo Anthony with it, but it's going to hurt. Like, in other words, you may lose a Grimes. Right? You may lose an IQ. You may lose an Obi. And that's why we're looking at these guys. If we're making a trade as part of a sign-in trade, right? You may lose somebody. Like, if it was Jalen Brunson, I wouldn't expect to lose any of my kids because he's not, to me, like I said, I don't think he's worth $80 million. And if we're going to do a sign-in trade, I don't want to be giving up Quentin Grimes for him. That's what I'm saying. But if you're talking about Zion Williamson or Donovan Mitchell, that might be different, right? Or even maybe a Colin Sexton. You're talking about maybe a Colin Sexton. You might have to give up something, significant to get guys on this level. Okay. And so that's why we might look at a Johnny Davis, because if we get a Johnny Davis, if we end up having to trade a significant young asset like a Quentin Grimes or Cam Reddish or, Obi Toppin or Emmanuel Quickly. Those four really is what I'm talking about. I don't think a lot of teams would want Deuce yet because he hasn't played, unless they scouted him and think as highly of him as we do. I don't think he'd be a big chip for somebody. And not only that, because nobody knows him, if I'm an opposing GM and I bring this unknown kid in for my superstar that I just traded away, that's not going to go too well. But most people are very much aware of Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes. They're very much aware of a Cam Reddish. So those guys are more named so that I won't look as bad if I'm trading my Donovan Mitchell and I'm bringing back some assets which include draft pick, which include a Quentin Grimes. And so, okay, if I got to lose my guy, I'm getting some haul back. But so I don't think Deuce is going anywhere, but those four guys, RJ is going to be off the table, period. So you're talking about Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, right? And then you're talking about Cam Reddish. Now, then, of course, there's Julius Randle, who I believe is going to be traded. And one of the reasons, aside from his talent, is his salary number. So he's going to need a salary to match some of these guys out there, right? So that's why you would look at a guy like a Johnny Davis and that's why we're looking at all these guys, because we may make a trade and you need somebody to step in. Okay. In fact, the Knicks are going to make trades. I don't know who the trades are going to be yet, but they're going to make trades this summer. There's going to be trades. Okay. So because of that, you're going to need one of these guys who's our 12th pick to be there waiting for us to develop. And you don't want them to take 4 years to develop. You want to be able to get them on the floor in their second year, or maybe even if your rookie year, if you can, in the rotation. See? So Johnny Davis is that guy. He's a guy that if we made a trade and we had to move a Cam or we had to move a Quentin Grimes, you got this guy coming in behind him. And that's what's good about him. Now, again, I love his defense. Again, he's not a guy that can guard more than two positions, though. I wouldn't depend on him to guard threes in the NBA. He's going to try, though. That's the thing about him. Very excellent, consistent, high level effort on the defensive end. Moves his feet well, fights through screens, anticipates passes very well. Good defender, very good. I'm not putting him on Sohan's level because he doesn't have that. You can't teach 7-foot wingspan at 6'9". You can't do it. Okay, it is what it is. But he's going to give you the effort. I like him. He's not going to come in and slack off. He's going to be working very hard. And I like that. And of course, Thibodeau likes that. So I like Johnny Davis for that. I have him at 12 on my list. He's the 12th guy available on my list. I have him right above Tari Eason. I have no problem with him there at all. I would not be crying if we picked him. I think, there are players that I would like more than him. Like I would like Sohan more than him. I'd like Okai more than him. I'd like Griffin more than him. Of course, Benedict, Keenan Murray, of course, those top guys. But I'd like E.J. Liddell because I'm really feeling we're going to trade Julius Randle and I want a backup four. I'm anointing Obi as my starting four. And I like a backup four. Only change to that is if we get Zion Williamson. That changes everything. But if we don't get Zion, then I like Obi as my starting power forward, and I need a backup. And I don't mind an E.J. Liddell, a Keenan Murray, Paolo Banchero backing up Obi. I have no problem, So we'll see what happens. But yes, Johnny Davis, I like him. Like I said, there's guys I like better than him, but I would not cry if we got him. He would be a replacement if we had to trade Quentin Grimes to make a deal work. I would, he'd be a promising guy to work with. Again, and as far as would he be in the rotation, I don't think he would. I don't think he'd be in Tom Thibodeau's rotation to start Johnny Davis. To start the season. He's a guy that probably will get G League minutes. He would have to work really hard from Summer League. He may be called up, and if there's injuries, but I would not look for him to be in the rotation right away. Not Johnny Davis. No. Tom's going to like him, but you know how Tom likes people. He still treats you like he don't even know you there, right? He's a guy, though, in his second year, I would expect to be in the rotation. All right. So that's Johnny Davis. Yeah. That's him. And like I said, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I would not be unhappy if the Knicks picked him. But he's not a guy that's like, okay, Jabari Parker. Jabari Smith Jr., Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, Keenan Murray, Benedict Mathurin. All of those guys would be in our rotation in their rookie year. Okay, they would be. Any of those guys. They wouldn't start, but they'd be in our rotation. Okay. Dyson Daniels, Jeremy Sohan. They're borderline. They could be in the rotation. Like Daniel spent the whole year in the G League. Okay. So he might be in the rotation coming up. He plays the defense for sure to be in the rotation. Same with Sohan. It's just a question of their offensive. Okay. So that's what I mean. Those guys would be in the rotation. Okai is borderline. Wendell Moore, borderline. AJ Griffin, definitely not. Johnny Davis, probably not. Tari Eason, probably not. Okay. They need a little work. That's not saying they're not going to be really, really good NBA players, but we can't always expect people to just come out of college and play in the league like that. It doesn't work like that. Okay. But you got to give them time. And I think all of these guys have upside. Some of them, like Griffin, major upside, but you got to give them time, to develop, right? Can't push them along and push them out there and they're not ready. All right. It's an investment. Okay. It's an investment. And initially it's at least a 4-year investment. So you got to take your time with it. Right. So Johnny Davis is like that. I wouldn't expect him to be in the rotation in his first year. I expect him to be in the rotation in his second year. I expect that he's going to get better. He has upside offensively as a really solid 3-and-D guy. And he's going to get better defensively and but he's got limitations, but he's going to be good. He's going to be pretty good. I like it. All right. Solid NBA player. All right. Let me know what you think. So I know some of y'all was very high on him and in Tankathon, they got him They got him very high. They got him. They got Johnny Davis. They got Johnny Davis going 9 to San Antonio. I don't know. I mean, if San Antonio, Lonnie Walker Jr. is a free agent this year, so if they're letting Lonnie Walker Jr. walk, Lonnie Walker the fourth, if they're letting him go, then I can see them bringing in Johnny Davis. But they drafted Primo last year, young kid, and they got a bunch of wings, So I don't know, but we'll see. They have too many wings, I think. But they got him going 9 to San Antonio. We'll see. Very competitive trying to get in the NBA, y'all. It ain't easy. It ain't easy at all. Anyway, y'all have a safe Thursday, a productive Thursday. Sure.